So this kind of leads into the next question. So
Yeah.
parents, as you probably know, I mean, I'm not sure uh, how much you know, but I'm sure you do know a lot in
Yeah.
regards to this question. But that's why I'm asking it. Parents are constantly struggling to find healthy foods to nourish
Yeah.
their kids in the best possible ways.
Yes.
So, what advice would you give them that could make that their job and their lives a whole lot easier?
I think it comes down to, again, trying almost eating foods that you want your child to learn to eat. And anything that is really anything that has a label and is processed, we should try and avoid because, firstly, most of the ingredients we can't read them or, they've been sitting on the shelf for 6 months.
Hmm.
So, trying to eat as fresh as you can, and even if it means going to the grocery store twice a week and buying less food more often because it's not going to last 2 weeks in the fridge if it's good quality produce. That's really important. And even if it means you have to order from, online and it gets delivered to you, there's so many ways to make it easier. Um, Bulk buying veggies and then chopping them and putting them in the freezer or putting them in Ziploc bags or chopping a big thing of salad and leaving it in the fridge for a few days is really easy. And then again, trying to make things like if you want your child to be eating chicken or salmon, mince it into meatballs with veggies and hide it and make it exciting and fun and get them involved in the kitchen. And
Hmm.
things that are really easy to hide are zucchini, as I said before, sweet potato, which you can get orange and you can get white sweet potato.
Right,
So you could mash sweet potato with carrot and white sweet potato and call it mashed potato. They don't know if it's white potato, sweet potato,
right,
regular potato.
right,
You just have, or you can call it like orange mash. You don't even have to tell them what vegetable it is.
right.
But I know it sounds a bit mean, but my cousin used to. She was about 4 or 5 when I remember this, and she thought everything was chicken. And one day we were eating fish, and everyone was like, "Do you want fish?" And she goes, this is chicken." And she ate it because she thought it was chicken.
Right.
And then she'd eat lamb because she thought it was chicken, or she would eat beef and she thought it was chicken. So if you have to, you want them to know what they're eating, but if it's going to help them vary their taste buds and get different nutrients in, you can kind of bend the truth a little bit,
And disguise it in some
disguise
way.
it. Yeah,
Right, I like that story. Ooh,
yeah,
everything's chicken.
yeah. Okay.
I wonder if everything really does taste like chicken if you
I
think
know. Well,
about it.
that's you can kind of almost or you can hide these, or you can put like lamb with beef in meatballs and just call them meatballs. And again, don't like I said, don't worry if the child's like, I'm not eating that. Because you
Right.
can just keep it on their plate and try it every day or every third day for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they'll get used to it. It's like it's a silly analogy, but the first time anyone tried vodka, they definitely didn't like it, right?
Right, of course not.
It's an acquired taste, like red wine or like anything, and you just have to keep trying it, and the child will start to like it. And if you eat it and you get excited and you tell them how good it is for them, they will adapt and they will eat it.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. It reminds me of a story of a family that I worked with, where
yeah,
one of the kids, an 18-month-year-old, didn't want to eat the food that his mum was preparing,
yeah,
and she was constantly telling him to eat it, and he
yeah,
just didn't want to eat it. This
yeah,
18-month-year-old kid had just so much. He developed so much choice about what he wanted to do and how
yeah,
he wanted to do it.
yeah,
And so one thing that I just suggested to her, which is kind of what you said before, I said, why don't you show him what it tastes like?
yeah,
Instead of telling him, because he was a little bit more visual than auditory. And she tried that
yeah,
for a week, just showing him what it tasted like with expression on her
yeah,
face and everything.
yeah,
And he went, picked up his fork, and started eating it on his own.
yeah,
So sometimes, literally getting into the experience of eating with kids, I totally relate to that and resonate with
yeah.
that.
Yeah. And
Cool.
they would love to go and cook in the kitchen with you, or they would love to make like salmon and sweet potato patties. They get their hands and then they'll mush it around, and you can cook it with them. And as you're cooking, you can try it. You can tell them how delicious it is. They would love. They probably would love to do it much more than you think they would.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I've
Yeah.
got one more question for you before we kind of
Sure.
start to finish off. Um, what I wanted to know is what suggestions and advice, which you
Yeah.
might have actually answered this, but we'll see if there's anything more you can add.
Sure.
What suggestions and advice could you provide to help guide parents in a direction that really nourishes them just as much as their own children?
Yeah.
So this question's more about how do we what advice can you give parents to make sure that they take care of themselves to the same degree that they want to take care of the kids?
Yeah, I think, well, I guess it comes down to what support you can lean on in your life. So if it means that, like, I have clients who their partner might be out at work obviously all day, and when the partner comes home, they don't help and they don't really want to be involved with the child. And then on the weekend, the mother thinks she can have an hour or two to herself, and it's like this huge deal to the father. So I think if you can try and explain to your partner or to a family member or a friend, maybe that you need this hour or two to yourself to kind of replenish your own well. Like I said in the beginning, that's so important. So
Hmm.
meditation can be the most amazing. Well, it is one of the most amazing things you can do for yourself. And you don't need an hour. Although there is a quote that says, I think it's probably Buddha. They say if you have no time to meditate, you should meditate for an hour a day,
Right.
because that clearly means you really need it if you just have no time for it.
Right.
But 5 or 10 minutes is amazing. It doesn't have to be, you can do guided or like a visual meditation, or you can do a body scan. You can Google, guided meditation, and you'll get so many tracks. You'll be swamped for choice, like overwhelmed for choice.
Hmm.
So trying to do 5 or 10 minutes of meditation in your day can be so important. Exercising, making sure, even if it's with the baby in the pram, go and get outside and get everything moving, because that will help your mood so much. And try, if you feel your child is dictating the meals at home, make sure you aren't eating what the child wants. If they're eating only white food for 2 weeks, make sure you're getting the food that you need as well. So when you cook, you might have to cook 2 meals, for you and for the child. But make sure that you're getting the food you need and you're not eating or just picking at the child's food, and it's not really all the nutrients that you need, or you need more food.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. I mean, one of the things that parents have challenges with
Yeah.
naturally as parents is taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of parents feel a massive sense of obligation to take care of their
Mm.
kids more than they take care of what they need to do for themselves. So, I personally believe it's always wise to take care of both just as
Yeah.
much.
Well,
Um,
if you don't feel looked after, how do you give and give to someone else if you're not well? Or yeah, you
ab-
kind of need to be at your optimal, at being looking after yourself for you to look after other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I use this a lot when I talk to people, but when you're on an airplane, what do they tell you? The first thing they tell you is make
Yeah.
sure you put
Your
the
oxygen.
oxygen mask on you before you put it on anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's sometimes quite difficult to explain that to parents because they feel
Yeah.
like they need to give of themselves before they give to themselves.
Yeah.
So it's great that you kind of answered that question and gave some really nice suggestions of things to do.
Yeah. Good.
Cool. So, Cassie, once again, thank you again for being here for this interview, and thank you so much for taking the time to answer all these questions,
Pleasure.
and for giving some really, really cool insight. Hopefully, over the next, hopefully into the future,
Mm.
we can provide some more
Yeah.
information on our website with
Yeah.
some ideas and maybe some recipe suggestions and things like that. Just very small bits and pieces every so often
Yeah.
to help some parents out and help them make their lives a little bit easier if that's something you're happy to provide for us.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Cool. Well, I think you kind of already know this, but I love what you're dedicated to,
Thank you.
and I'm really, really grateful to have had this opportunity to have you share your inspired ideas and advice and insights with the Be Who You Want to Be community. And like
Yeah.
I said, I look forward to sharing more of that information with them in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome, and maybe we'll do this again in a little while with some
Yeah.
really cool. I know you're developing some cool new stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
So, in fact, you know what? We're going to take this time very, very quickly because I want to give you a little bit of a platform to be able to share that because it's very, very cool stuff that you're working on,
Thank you.
and there might be some parents or even teachers, maybe even some kids who are watching this who'd like to make use of that. So the floor is yours.
So, well, I've got a beautiful ebook called Cleansed,
Okay.
which you can find on my website, which is just elevatevitality.com.au.
Cool.
And that is a really nice book. It's really gentle. It's called Cleansed in that it's not just a physical detoxification, which I take you through in one of the chapters, but it's a way to kind of let go of whatever whatever you're holding on to in a life that's just not serving you anymore. So we go through cleansed mind, cleansed body, cleansed spirit, cleansed self, cleanse space and cleanse life, and then I give you beautiful healthy meal plan, recipes, two beautiful affirmation posters which can really help. They're like your gratitude journal almost, so every day you can kind of look at one, pick a positive affirmation or a quote, and kind of take that with you on your journey for the day. So that's wonderful, and I've sold that in 8 or 9 countries around the world, which is amazing. Um, and then there's also, I am the co-creator of an e-course called Self-Love and Nourishment, which the first course is launching in October of this year. And we're going to run it every few months. So the information there is at selfloveandnourishment.com. So anyone, it's for women aged kind of from 16 up, anyone who wants some help and some support on their journey to basically self-love and nourishment, so self-compassion and optimal health, then it's the perfect place. And we've already got women from 4 countries who are all joining together. We've got a group Facebook, a private Facebook group, and it's kind of going off. It's amazing. Everyone writing their stories and everyone supporting each other and commenting and helping each other out. So that's happening now. But my blog is always open. I post weekly or twice a week, and I've got a webinar that I ran in July of this year, and that you can kind of listen to whenever you want. You can download the webinar from my shop. So yeah, anyone who wants a little bit of support or recipes or articles on kind of anything, just hit my blog up and you'll hopefully find what you need.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all that information. And there will be a link on the page where your video is.
Oh, cool.
With your website and the link to that self-love and nourishment
thanks.
Course that you're putting on and that you're doing.
Yeah.
But for now, thanks again, and
thank you.
I look forward to more to come in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Cassie.